Last night's episode of Good Morning America erupted into unprecedented chaos when Pierce Brosnan was forcibly removed from the studio after George Stephanopoulos accused him of promoting conspiracy theories about media manipulation. The former James Bond actor didn't just challenge the veteran anchor. He exposed internal ABC News documents that revealed systematic suppression of certain stories, leaving Stephanopoulos speechless and security scrambling. But what started as promotion for Brosnan's new independent film would expose something darker about how morning news programs control narrative behind their friendly facades. The ABC News studios carried an ominous tension from the moment Brosnan arrived at Times Square. The 71-year-old actor was there to discuss his latest project about journalism ethics, a timely thriller that had already stirred controversy for its unflattering portrayal of mainstream media. But George Stephanopoulos had prepared a very different conversation. A makeup artist later revealed overhearing Stephanopoulos tell his producer, "Let's expose this conspiracy theorist for what he is." The preparation notes, leaked afterward, included instructions to challenge any criticism of media integrity and defend institutional journalism at all costs. Therefore, when the cameras went live at 7:15 that morning, Brosnan already sensed the confrontation brewing beneath Stephanopoulos' practiced smile. The show opened with its typical cheerful music and morning pleasantries. Robin Roberts handled the introduction segments while Stephanopoulos reviewed his notes with unusual intensity. Brosnan waited in the green room, calmly sipping tea while watching the monitor. His publicist would later describe him as eerily composed despite knowing what was coming. When Stephanopoulos finally announced, "Please welcome Pierce Brosnan to Good Morning America," the actor walked out with confident strides, greeting Robin warmly, but noting Stephanopoulos' rigid posture. "Pierce, good morning. Your new film suggests mainstream media manipulates truth." "That's quite an accusation," Stephanopoulos began immediately, skipping any pleasantries. Brosnan smiled slightly. "Good morning to you too, George. The film explores how news can become propaganda. It's fiction, but inspired by documented cases," he said calmly. "Documented by whom? Conspiracy theorists? Extremists?" Stephanopoulos pressed aggressively. "By former producers from this very network, actually. Would you like me to name them?" Brosnan replied smoothly. The immediate reversal caught Stephanopoulos off guard. His face tightened visibly. Robin Roberts shifted uncomfortably in her chair. But Stephanopoulos doubled down on his attack. "Anyone can make accusations. That doesn't make them true," he said dismissively. "You're right. That's why I brought evidence," Brosnan said, pulling out a folder from his jacket. Therefore, the ambush had been reversed completely. Stephanopoulos hadn't expected Brosnan to come prepared with documents. The actor began reading from what appeared to be internal memos. "This is from your executive producer, dated last month. Quote, avoid any coverage that might validate concerns about pharmaceutical companies. Our advertising revenue depends on it." "Should I continue?" Brosnan asked. "Those are confidential documents." "You can't have those," Stephanopoulos said, his voice rising with panic. "Actually, they were provided by whistleblowers concerned about journalistic integrity." "The same integrity you claim to defend," Brosnan replied. He turned to the camera, addressing viewers directly. "Every morning, millions trust this man to deliver truth. But he's reading scripts approved by sponsors. That's not journalism. That's performance," he said. "That's absolutely false," Stephanopoulos protested, but his voice lacked conviction. "Is it? Then explain why you killed the story about contaminated water in Pennsylvania. The one your own investigative team spent months on," Brosnan challenged. Robin Roberts looked shocked. "George, is that true?" she asked quietly. Stephanopoulos couldn't answer immediately. The silence spoke volumes. But Brosnan wasn't finished with his revelations. "Or should we discuss the pharmaceutical executive who sits on ABC's board? The one who personally vetoed 3 stories about drug pricing?" he continued. "You're spreading dangerous conspiracy theories," Stephanopoulos accused desperately. "I'm reading from your own internal communications." "If these are conspiracy theories, you wrote them," Brosnan replied. He pulled out another document. "This one's interesting. It's your email to staff saying, quote, Our job is to maintain public trust in institutions, not investigate them. That's not journalism, George. That's public relations, he said. The studio atmosphere had become electric with tension. Camera operators exchanged worried glances. Producers frantically gestured from off-camera. But Brosnan continued his methodical destruction. You want to know what's really dangerous? Journalists who've forgotten their purpose. Who've traded truth for access. Who've become stenographers for power, he said. Security, Stephanopoulos called out suddenly. We need security here. Are you really calling security because I'm reading your own emails? Brosnan asked incredulously. 2 security guards appeared, looking uncertain. Robin Roberts stood up. George, this is unnecessary, she said. But Stephanopoulos had lost control. Remove him. He's trespassing, he ordered. Trespassing? I was invited here. You're removing me for telling truth. The irony is staggering, Brosnan observed. As security approached, Brosnan stood calmly. Before you escort me out, let me ask viewers one question. If they're willing to silence a guest on live television, what else are they hiding? He said. Get him out, Stephanopoulos repeated, his face red with anger. But Brosnan had one more revelation. By the way, George, your viewers should know that you still receive consulting fees from your former political employers, while presenting yourself as objective news. That's not disclosure. That's deception, he said. The accusation landed like a bomb. Stephanopoulos went pale. The security guards hesitated, unsure whether to proceed. The live broadcast was descending into chaos. That's a lie, Stephanopoulos said weakly. Your financial disclosures are public record. Anyone can verify it. Though you've tried to bury them, Brosnan replied. He looked at the security guards. Gentlemen, you're about to remove someone for exposing corruption. Consider what side of history you're on, he told them. One guard stepped back. The other looked at Stephanopoulos uncertainly. The power dynamic had completely shifted. But then more security arrived, apparently called by panicking producers. This is what happens when you challenge media power. They don't debate you. They remove you, Brosnan said to the camera as guards took his arms. You're undermining public trust, Stephanopoulos accused. I'm revealing why public trust was already lost. There's a difference, Brosnan replied. As they escorted him toward the exit, Brosnan called out one final truth. Ask him about the Hunter Biden laptop story. Ask why he called it disinformation when he knew it wasn't. Ask about the meetings with government officials dictating coverage, he shouted. The camera caught Stephanopoulos' stricken expression before quickly cutting to commercial. But the damage was catastrophic. The live broadcast had captured everything. Millions had witnessed a respected actor being physically removed for presenting documents. We're experiencing technical difficulties, Robin Roberts said weakly when they returned. But viewers knew exactly what they'd witnessed. Within minutes, #BrosnanExposesTruth was trending globally. The footage of security removing him while he read internal documents went viral instantly. Independent journalists began investigating his claims. Every accusation was being verified. Former ABC employees came forward confirming Brosnan's documents were authentic. 3 producers revealed similar experiences of stories being killed. A former executive confirmed the pharmaceutical board member's interference. Stephanopoulos attempted damage control in the next segment. We had an unfortunate security incident with a disruptive guest spreading misinformation, he said. But viewers weren't buying it. The comments sections exploded with demands for explanation. Other news outlets began covering the story. The scandal was escalating beyond ABC's control. Within hours, the leaked documents Brosnan had referenced began appearing online. Whistleblowers, emboldened by his stand, released cache after cache of internal communications. The evidence of systematic bias and corporate influence was overwhelming. Good Morning America's ratings plummeted immediately. Advertisers began pulling out, not wanting association with the controversy. The show faced its worst crisis in decades. Stephanopoulos released a statement calling Brosnan irresponsible and dangerous to democracy. But the statement only drew more attention to the accusations. Media critics began analyzing years of coverage, finding patterns of bias Brosnan had exposed. Brosnan released his own statement. I was physically removed from a news program for presenting their own internal documents. That tells you everything about the state of American journalism. The truth isn't dangerous to democracy. Suppressing it is. The statement resonated powerfully. Other celebrities began sharing their own experiences of media manipulation. Journalists from competing networks admitted similar pressures existed everywhere. Within a week, ABC announced an internal review of their news practices. But the damage was irreversible. Stephanopoulos' credibility was destroyed. The image of him calling security to remove a guest for reading emails became iconic. Congressional hearings were announced to investigate media consolidation and conflicts of interest. Brosnan was invited to testify. His film, which had been struggling for distribution, was picked up by major theaters as audiences demanded to see it. The incident became known as the Brosnan removal, a moment when mainstream media's facade cracked completely. Universities began teaching it as a case study in institutional journalism's failure. Security guards who'd removed him later said they felt sick about their role. One resigned, saying he couldn't work for an organization that silenced truth. His resignation letter went viral, adding to ABC's humiliation. Robin Roberts, who tried to remain neutral, later admitted she was disturbed by what happened. Her own credibility suffered by association. The entire Good Morning America team was tainted by the incident. But the deeper impact was on public trust in media. Polls showed confidence in television news hit historic lows. The image of Brosnan being escorted out while reading documents became a symbol of media suppression. Stephanopoulos took an extended leave of absence, officially for personal reasons. But everyone knew he couldn't face viewers after being exposed. His decades-long career in journalism was effectively over. Meanwhile, Brosnan emerged as an unlikely champion of press freedom, not through attacking journalism, but by demanding it live up to its principles. His calm dignity while being removed contrasted powerfully with Stephanopoulos' panic. Years later, journalism schools would teach the Brosnan principle, that killing stories to protect power is the death of journalism. His confrontation had exposed not just one show or network, but an entire system of manufactured consent. The film he'd come to promote became a massive success, grossing hundreds of millions globally. Audiences saw it as vindication of what Brosnan had revealed. Art had exposed reality in ways journalism had failed to. In his Oscar speech for the film, Brosnan said simply, "To George Stephanopoulos, who had me removed for reading his emails, thank you for proving my point more effectively than any film ever could." The camera found Stephanopoulos in the audience, forced to applaud while everyone remembered his humiliation. He'd tried to destroy Brosnan's credibility, but had only destroyed his own. The empty chair Brosnan left on that Good Morning America set became symbolic of the absence of real journalism in morning news. His forced removal had revealed forced narratives. His silencing had amplified truth. And George Stephanopoulos, who'd built a career on claiming journalistic integrity, was exposed as a guardian not of truth, but of institutional power. The anchor who'd called security on his guest had shown that when confronted with evidence, power doesn't debate, it removes the dissenter. But removal had only made Brosnan's message stronger. By physically ejecting him, they'd proven everything he'd said about media suppression. The actor had won by losing, exposed them by being silenced, and revealed their weakness through their own overreaction. In the end, being kicked off Good Morning America became the most powerful media criticism ever broadcast. Not through words, but through actions. Not through accusation, but through their panicked response to evidence.